Hello there everybody and welcome to a slightly different video. Today I wanted to talk about gripes with the UK railways. However, I feel like I could have done such a poor job if I did it on my own, so I've decided to employ somebody from a less economically developed country. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm GWVillager. That is indeed correct, but it's the problems with Wales's railway network are the problems with England's railway network, except you've turned the volume up to 11, and there are plenty of things to discuss, and I presume she'll do them now.
Indeed we do. Indeed we will, by doing it in this glorious tier list. Here we have a whole bunch of options here, and we have 4...
The only way to present views.
Exactly. The only official way, according to the internet. And we are going to rank these depending on if these are just an inconvenience, irritating, a bit of a deterrent for travel, or just deep pain overall.
Yeah.
The images here may look a bit esoteric, but it's the best that we could do, so I apologise in advance.
Oh, and I can guarantee you that there were some more esoteric suggestions.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. These were refined.
Yeah, we had to moderate ourselves a bit.
Indeed. Let's start with quiet zones. So, the GWVillager has spoken about quiet zones in one of his own previous videos, and I have pretty much the same opinion. That is, nobody knows how to use them or respect them nowadays. Yeah.
I think increasingly, I mean, there's a lot of the latter, but there is also the case where just most people I find who don't respect quiet zones genuinely did not know it was a quiet zone. The signposting is atrocious on almost all operators, and they could do a far better job at portraying what it actually is. There's a car going by outside, sorry if you hear that.
That's fine, I could barely hear it. But, okay, so what would you call this? I definitely put it as it definitely irritates me, but I don't know if it irritates me enough to not travel unless I had a massive headache.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't stop me travelling. I think irritating. Certainly is irritating.
Especially when people are having 85 decibel phone calls.
Yeah, I think the worst thing is phones. If people are having a conversation, yeah, it's annoying, but it's not that bad. The worst problem is when people are playing TikToks at full volume.
Do not get me started on that. It's a sensory overload.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I hate it. And like the tinny phone speakers, just
I've just forgotten how to use headphones. Even wired. I mean, sure, we complained back in the day with wired headphones because they always get into a knot no matter what. It was confirmed that they'll get into a knot at one point in the day. But at least they did their job of, removing. Oh, it's just ridiculous. Definitely an
and they all have subtitles anyway. TikToks. You don't need to play it at full volume. Definitely not in a quiet coach. Yeah.
When I come to power, doing that will be punishable by excommunication and instant deportation out of the country. No court, no trial, just instant, you're out of the country.
It's new powers to the British Transport Police.
Yes.
Of course, it is illegal, actually.
Oh, really?
I'll see if I can find the bylaw. Oh, music sound advertising. Right. Except with written permission from an operator, no person on the railway shall, to the annoyance of any person, sing or use any instrument, article, or equipment for the production or reproduction of sound. So there.
Ooh. Now, if only the BTP could actually enforce that.
Yeah, and that's another thing, enforcement. Spot check. And actually mentioning it, I think, on the adverts. And when you're going through checking tickets if you're a guard or whatever. Just telling people to shut up.
That's what we need to give to guards, more of a reason for people to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
Alright, let's go to the next one. Passenger information displays. PIS displays, whatever you want to call them. The issue that I really have is that if you go from one part of the country to another, like, it doesn't matter where, London to Scotland, London or Wales to Manchester, doesn't matter where, the displays are not the same type. They will vary across the whole country.
Yeah, and I think there is obviously some reason to do that with different authorities and the like, but the point to which it varies is ridiculous, and when you've got a good design, there's no point changing it.
Exactly. I mean, I could understand if it was like a new design that was being phased in. But the thing is that in the Netherlands, it's all the same. In Belgium, it's all the same. In Germany, it's mostly all the same. But the main difference is when it's like with local authorities with their metros and trams and stuff. For that, fair enough, change it if you must. But overall, it should be the same on the trains, and it should be the same as at stations and everywhere else. It needs to be a unified sort of, like, I want to know how many coaches my train will have. The stopping pattern, I want it to be clear and easy to read. I want to know what platform my train is also.
Well, yeah, obviously.
That may become a luxury in the future.
Yeah, no, I'm not really sure about that. I don't need to know the platform.
Sorry,
Just cross the track on the level.
I forgot Wales operates slightly differently to the UK in that aspect. But, yeah, it's just so ridiculous of how... It really irritates me how there's not a... Not only is it not a single design, is that most of the designs vary from acceptable to just outright rubbish.
Yeah, definitely. There is massive inconsistency. If we're talking about station signage in particular, the new signs vary a lot. There's some really good Great British Railways sort of LCD screens, but there are also some rubbish ones that do a terrible job at portraying information, and I don't quite see the improvement on the original yellow LED ones, which, yeah, they're old, but they present information well.
Yeah, they were really good, honestly, and I really liked how on those ones the final stop was in capital letters, so it was clear to see, oh, that's where my train is going to.
Yeah, the layout was great too. I mean, everything was clearly presented, it was concise, it was small but also readable.
Do you have any examples of ones that you really can't stand nowadays that I can quickly paste into the video screen?
The new Transport for Wales screens, not at stations. The ones at stations are fantastic, but the ones on trains, the typeface is so small, it's unbelievable. And particularly when you combine it with the announcements, which on the Class 197s are deafening, you're having a really bad time.
Oh dear. Alright then, I'll keep that in mind as well. Also, a worthy sort of runner-up in that is the GWR IETs.
Oh yeah. Oh well, even worse than them is the GWR 158s. And in fact, I think a few other 158s.
Oh,
with the with the gigantic screens in blue and yellow.
Yeah, it's like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, and except they cut off mid-sentence
in so
completely
annoying.
the wrong place. It's so bad.
I hate that so much. Because it could be like listing a whole bunch of stations like, you know, Oldfield Park, Keenham, Bristol, Temple Meads on the next slide. Oh, that crap annoys me so much.
It is. And you can have a well-designed high-contrast display, definitely. And they're not them.
Definitely not. What would you call it then? Irritating, travel deterrent? Or would you call it an inconvenience?
I think it's an inconvenience, for me. Now, it might be different if you're not familiar with the railway. Then it might be a travel deterrent. But for me, it's just an inconvenience.
For me, it's irritating, but I do see exactly where you're coming from. But I think just to balance it out, we'll put it as an inconvenience, because there are more good displays than bad ones.
Yeah.
But the bad ones just really annoy me.
Yeah.
Seating. Let's talk about seats.
Well, yeah, well, what isn't there to say about modern seats? Over the past decade, we've seen a complete deterioration, a collapse even, in seating quality. Things have got a little better recently, with some of the new seat designs being okay, but it's still nothing like what it could be. And the thing with seats is there are all sorts of things that change, like technology and passenger capacity and all of this. The one thing that doesn't change is a comfortable seat. And once you've got it right, you don't need to fiddle with it unless there are fire safety regulations or whatever. But we seem to like to change designs of seats every time we get a new fleet. And that's ridiculous, because clearly we're failing at designing good seats. And we perhaps should be more thoughtful before preparing a new model.
What you said. Also, ironing seat ban.
Yeah, no, agreed.
not ironing board seat ban.
Yeah.
It's,
the worst seat, in my opinion, like the ironing boards, they're bad, but I can tolerate them. What I don't like are the Fisa leans, which are fitted to the flirts and the Class 196s. And will be the Class 810s too. They're so upright. It's unbelievably uncomfortable.
Yeah, the uprightness of the seat can be just really... Well, it can be a bit of a travel deterrent for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, because the IETs, I managed to avoid riding the IET since 2021 or 2020, or early 2022, because I've been MLG with my skills, because Megabus exists and National Express exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's the IET seats. They're not too bad. Well, they're bad, but they're not too bad when they are new. But as soon as the seat cushions collapse, which they have on basically all the GWR IETs, they are horrible. They've got this metal bar that sort of sticks right through them. It is so bad.
That sounds painful.
It really is. But yeah, there is a lot of variety. I mean, seat pitch does make a huge difference.
Yeah,
the Class 175s. Yeah. Class 175s. They didn't have particularly soft seats, but they were reclined, and you could fall asleep in them easily. So, yeah.
It's a shame because again, the 175s were great to ride on. I loved riding the 175. It's just everything else. That's why I call them electric bunnies, basically. But I think this is worthy of putting us into travel deterrent because...
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah.
If the seats are bad on a train, I don't want to ride on them.
Yeah, I mean, and considering especially how bus seats have only been getting more and more comfortable, it's a real
Enviro
push
400
factor.
off my road should not have better seats than an intercity train.
Yeah, it's completely wrong.
Definitely not. So the next one, onward connections. So, what's it called? You're traveling, you're at a station, and you got to meet your friend who lives in a housing estate about half a mile away, and you're too lazy to walk, so you'll get the bus. And some stations are...
No, you won't.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. No, they won't get the bus, because they got to walk 500 million miles to the bus station, because it's one of those places.
Yeah, i.e. everywhere in Britain. There are a few exceptions. There are a few that do it really well. I went to Didcot the other day. Fantastic. You just walk straight out of the station, the buses are all there waiting, and their time to match with the trains is amazing.
Oh, wow.
But everywhere else, no. You cannot have an easy connection. That would be too convenient, and thus you have to walk to another bus station, or indeed a collection of bus stations scattered around a city, or indeed no bus station at all. You just got to discern your way through a multitude of random bus shelters.
Indeed, and it's very I'd like to consider myself very adept in terms of like transport knowledge, but if someone like me gets confused of which bus stop is the right bus to get a bus to Walsall from Birmingham, at like the Queen, like there's like, I can't remember, is it the Priory Queensway or something? If I get confused by that, how is somebody like in their 50s or in their 60s gonna know unless they are like memorize all these routes? And it's so horrible.
Yeah,
there's no central bus station at Birmingham. It's stupid.
Yeah, well it is, and it's really indicative of how little the railway, but probably more the bus network, seems to care for new users. Because obviously if you know your way around, it's fine. You know where the buses leave. But if you're new, you need to figure things out for yourself, and there's no real help, apart from in a few areas. And you're kind of left to just discover and like map out the wilderness for yourself. And it's really not a great way to do things, and it definitely has and will deter many people who want to use the bus but can't.
Exactly. I mean, granted, there are some good, like you mentioned earlier, there are some good areas where interchange with the buses and trains isn't that bad. Like you mentioned, Didcot. I wanted to give one example of. I'm really struggling, but I wanted to give like one example of Bracknell, because you just cross the roads, but you know Bracknell has its own fair share of problems anyway. But it's just more, yeah, it's just that my issue is that when you see just how bad it is here, and then you go to even like the most random place in Belgium, like Spa.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Spa is basically a village that people only go to for the F1. But even Spa, which has one train an hour and no ticket office, nothing, it's just horrible there. Even that station, once you exit the station, there are 2 bus stands there. And the buses easily turn in like a balloon loop and then still drive off. It's easy, but here it's painful.
There's no reason why we can't have it too. It's just poor planning.
No, definitely not. So, what would you call this? Would you call this like, well, where would you rank it? Because this is like a massive. This could be like a massive problem. If it really depends.
It does. It causes me deep pain. I don't know about you, or the average user, but for me, it definitely does.
You know, I'm gonna put it in deep pain because there are just so many places I don't like travelling to. Oh yeah, because I want to go to Leicester, but Leicester's bus stations, plural, aren't anywhere near the main train station. And if I get the coach, I end up going to Fuzz Park, which is like half an hour plus away from the town centre? Ball.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say, I know we're going really off topic here, but Leicester is definitely worth a visit. They've been doing some amazing things with their bus network.
I want to go there, but I can't because well, for something we'll mention in a bit, but it's just the onward connections are a bit crap.
Yeah.
Now we'll go on to the next one, which I just almost forgot out of order. Was going to be privatisation, and I think it goes in the bottom tier. No questions. It's deep pain.
Yeah, no doubt. All of you watching, no.
Onyx, no debates. Anyone who does debate will, ban him for 3 hours. Just no questions asked. Yeah. But the thing is, if you want more of a in-depth explanation on that, just watch the GWR.
GWR just criticising themselves.
Just watch the GWVillagers video talking about it. I will link it in the description. So
very kind.
You're welcome. That's the only plug you'll get.
Don't watch any other of my videos.
Don't push it. Now, underutilized, disused rolling stock. So, shout outs to everybody in Ely Papworth, Long Marston, some sidings in Crewe, and anywhere else where trains are just being left to rot and doing exactly sod all.
Yep, it's very wasteful, and particularly with EMUs, there is very much a habit within the franchise selection process of companies promising like an entirely new fleet or whatever, as Greater Anglia did, and not really thinking about, obviously they do think about the units, but there's not enough consideration given to this, and the government prioritises new trains over sensible policy, and we're left with literally hundreds of trains sitting disused when they've got plenty of life left in them.
Exactly. It really annoys me just seeing not just not just EMUs, but any train, even locos, just not being used. Like the Class 90, because Deutsche Bahn here, electric locos cost money to run. Well done, Captain Obvious. They do run, just like a Class 66, and the copious amounts of carbon dioxide it spews, no matter how many HVO fuel ones you run.
Yeah, it's really backwards, and I mean that. The DB case of withdrawing electric locomotives is particularly painful to watch, especially considering, as you mentioned, the move towards reducing carbon emissions that we need to be making. And there's plenty of 90s lying around. Like there's no real excuses there, other than
92s as well.
Well, and 92s indeed. And there are still like 87s lying around. I know Freightliner, but. There's plenty. Oh no, it was 86s they had. Sorry.
No, the 86s I could at least understand because they were really old. Like we're talking 1960s. So fair enough, you can get rid of them. And even then, they didn't replaced them all with 66s. They replaced them with 90s that they took from Greater Angular. So that's just more like an update.
Yeah. Though there are some positive signs. The Class 99s, which GBRF have ordered loads of, they might be quite positive.
Class 99? This is news to me. I haven't...
oh, yeah.
Are you talking... You sure you don't know Class 93?
The Class 93s, they're the faster ones, I believe. The 99s are designed to be as powerful as Class 66s on diesel, but also have an electric mode.
Oh, these ones. Oh, okay. And they got... Oh, when they made the sensible decision to make them, well, you know, Coco axles. Yes, yes. So it will actually be able to move something. Well done.
Yeah, it will probably be the first real competitor to the Class 66 that we've seen in 20 years.
Actually, that does bring up one other thing I just remembered regarding these trains. Well, more so like underutilized rolling stock, and this is definitely why I think this will definitely make me consider putting it into the deep pains section. If you agree. Mm-hmm. So, you remember the Class 58?
Yeah.
That was being, you know, it had plenty of life left in it, and EWS, when they took them all, they took, like, I couldn't remember how many 58s they built. It was like, I think it was 50, regardless. 50 locomotives that still had plenty of life in them. As soon as the 21st century came along, in the bin.
Yeah. Well, they sent a few of them to France, didn't they?
Well, here's the thing. They used them in France for a bit, and then they're in the colloquial Ely Papworth of France. I've seen pictures of them. They're still rotting to this very day. It's sad, honestly.
Yeah, well, it is sad.
They deserve so much more, because I'm not exactly a massive fan of the 58, but surely, you know, you're not going to... Why would you throw away something after 20-ish years of use?
Yeah, it's not good to see trains out of use when they clearly could be used.
Definitely. And that alone is why it belongs in the deep pain category. No questions.
Yeah,
well, actually, no, we do have questions, but there's your answers. Yeah. Right, next section, short formations. Something, again, the GWVillager must be very, forgot the word I'm looking for here, rip my joke.
Really?
You experience it a lot.
Yeah, well, Transport for Wales is quite bad for this. They've been having quite a notable shortage of rolling stock, but this happens all over the country, particularly with Northern, to a lesser extent TPE with the 185s, and increasingly Southern after they withdrew their 313s and 455s.
No way! They're lacking trains?
They should, fingers crossed, be getting the 387s released by Great Northern when they get the 379s. But, you know, hopefully. I have my doubts. But yeah. But yeah, no, short formations are one of the worst things you can really do with a railway. Because you've got people, you know, people want to travel by train, they're bringing in revenue, they're enjoying the service, they're boosting it in its political agenda or whatever. But you can't fit them on because you've got short formations. And it's, I mean, to some degree, it's a result of the short-term thinking that we have. There's not enough capital investment in new stock. But equally, there's a lot of poor trains that aren't reliable enough to meet the demands that are required of them. So, yeah, it's a really bad issue, and it has very severe consequences. But it's the sort of thing you've got to sit and deal with for several years until new trains arrive.
Yeah, well, it is just painful also seeing, like, with South Western Railway, they spent, like, so much money having all the platforms at 10 coaches, and then getting rid of the 456s, so you can't run 10-car metro trains. And then then they start like getting rid of the 458s to convert them, and then they change their mind on that. So now what used to be 10 coaches is now 8, and what used to be 8 coaches is now 4.
It's a real farce. And service frequency has been reduced with a lot of Western services too. Oh well, hopefully things will get better with the 701s, but...
Yes, it will. Ignoring how they're still not all in service yet. And they probably won't.
Let's maintain hope.
deep pain or travel deterrent? That's the question.
I would say deep pain.
Oh dear, this is
Yeah, it's not looking too great,
No,
but
it's not.
I think deep pain.
Definitely. Well, I guess the next one is also most likely going to be in deep pain as well. It's tickets.
Yeah.
So,
Well, tickets, yeah.
I should clarify, this is not just ticket prices, but it's also ticket designs.
Yeah. I mean, the ticketing system, and the tickets themselves.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Yeah, and the ticketing system. Yes, carry on.
Yeah, well, I mean, ticket design is a big part too. They've been phasing out the orange card tickets and replacing them with these gigantic paper slips with QR codes on. And great, put QR codes on tickets, but don't make them twice the size so you can't fit them in any pockets.
Yeah, and they feel so flimsy. I still have the ticket I got for when I was travelling around in Birmingham last week, and it just feels like the most thin piece of paper I've ever felt. It might as well be a receipt. In fact, I was travelling in last year. I think I was travelling in Barnetby and sort of that area, and I was at Barnetby Station, and I needed to purchase my ticket to go to Barton-on-Humber. And, well, it printed out a ticket that I think it's only fair that you see my reaction to it right now. What the hell kind of tickets are these? These are receipts. Yeah, that is easily the worst ticket design I've ever seen, because it's just a receipt with a QR code on the top. And the fact that it has to tell you, this is your ticket, this is your train ticket.
I mean, it says a lot there.
Yeah, it's so poorly designed.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been designed really. No. Yeah, they have just printed the PDF.
No, it's not. I want to prevent at least any form of bias, I won't say that the UK has the worst ticketing, ticket designs and ticketing system at least, because I don't really like Belgium's railway tickets, because sometimes they can fit in your wallet, sometimes they can't. But but it's still really bad here. And how could we forget ticket prices?
Yeah, ticket prices. Yeah, so you pay through the roof to get a useless ticket design.
Or a train that might not even turn up.
Or a train that might not even turn up, or is overcrowded, or any of the other things we're going to mention in the list. But yeah, no, ticket prices are extremely high in certain circumstances, and extremely low in others. There's no consistency, and that's the main thing about the ticketing system. You've got no idea what you're going to get.
No, and it just completely removes the whole turn up and go aspect of the railway. Because, yeah, I mean, people will say, if you want to get cheap fares, get it in advance. It'll be cheaper.
You don't necessarily know you're going to be travelling in advance.
Yeah, and, you know what? It will also be cheaper to get tickets in advance on the coach.
Yeah.
So, there you go, problem solved.
Or even the plane.
Oh my god, yeah, if I want to go to Edinburgh, stop taking the train, I'm gonna get on British Airways. Stop that.
It shouldn't be that way, but for many people it is.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna put this in deep pain as well, because ticketing does this. I'm so glad I've done the railway reviews of the Class 91 now, because if I was to do it today, it would be impossible with the fares that LNER have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They've really gone up since they introduced a new fare system.
The next section, first class. So, a lot of trains have first class. Some of them don't really deserve it. Some of them it's good, sometimes it's bad. And, I guess first class is a new invention in Wales, if you don't count GWR and cross country.
Yeah. I mean, Transport for Wales is one of the few operators that's currently increasing first class operations, with the Mark IV services on the Manchester to Cardiff trains, and also the Standard Premier, which is first class by another name, on the Class 197, or as we were discussing earlier, Tesco Finest first class. But it's a good thing, I think, in principle, first class. It's a great way for the railway to get extra revenue, and also to attract maybe some wealthier passengers who otherwise wouldn't take the train.
Yeah.
And provide a comfortable service if you're travelling a really long way or whatever. However, it has to be worth it. And
exactly.
In too many cases, it isn't. Particularly the Gatwick Express. It's just the same.
It's the same seat with a sort of antimacassar on the back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
It's really not worth paying the high prices you do for the Galaxy Express First Class. There's a lot of potential, and it is being met in some cases. Like Avanti do a very good first class at LNER, Transport for Wales even. But too often it isn't, and at that point you might as well just give up and not offer it.
Nah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, with me, for first class, I'm not really a person who goes in first class unless I have the opportunity. However, at the same time, I'm not gonna be, like, expecting first class to be Emirates 777 first class. It doesn't need to be that level where, you know, you have to be in, I need my enclosed cabin. I need a coat hanger to put all of my suits in. I need personal aircon. I don't need that. But at the same time, yeah, you're right, it needs to be worth it. And on a service that makes sense. Like, London to Edinburgh, fair enough, put first class in. London to Weymouth, again, maybe not as demanding, but I can see it. Who needs first class from London to Brighton? Who needs that? Or Oxted?
I think London to Brighton kind of makes sense.
Okay,
when you
maybe...
get to like London to Chessington or whatever.
Okay, no, thanks. That's a better one. Thanks for saving my bacon there. Yes, yeah, it's just the service has to make sense, and yeah, the service and the route has to make sense. And honestly, for some, even ones that do make sense, like some of Cross Country's Turbo Stars, they're just.
Oh, have you heard about their refurbishment?
No, I have not heard about. This is complete news to me again.
They're getting a new livery. On the Voyages, it looks unbelievably bad.
Oh, I've seen the Voyager livery. Yes,
yeah,
I've seen
the
that.
Voyager livery. But they're also refurbishing the Turbo Stars. They're getting new seats, which is a shame, as the old ones were alright.
Yeah.
And first class is being changed from 2+1 to 2+2. So, even less of a reason to use it.
We need people to use first class. Should we make it better? No. Alright, problem solved.
Let's make it worse. Yeah.
I'll need to search this up later, but... The thing is that, regarding the tier list, though, because I don't use first class, I can't put it as like a deep pain or a travel deterrent. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd call it irritating because I've never really said to myself, "Oh, if only first class," because I don't really buy first class tickets. Again, it's just, what would you put it? I'd put it like an inconvenience more, if anything.
I don't know. I mean, I think myself I'd agree. It's not the end of the world if the first class isn't too good. But for some people, it definitely is a travel deterrent. But yeah, I think this is our list, and we can do what we want, and let's say inconvenience.
Inconvenience. If you're that upset by first class, call your chauffeur to drive you down to the golf course. Problem solved, okay?
Yeah.
Alright.
Play some golf to clear your mind.
Yeah, definitely. Accessibility. So mainly focusing on like wheelchair, the disabled passengers, and wheelchair users, but just in general. Accessibility on the railways in the UK isn't that bad compared to Belgium, where if you're in the south, as I've shown pictures, which I'm going to withhold from now, but I will show them in a future railway review. If you try to board certain stations at Belgium, it's basically you're on the floor. Basically, you're on the soil.
Yeah, you need like a 20-meter run up to get in.
Yeah, do the long jump to get onto the trains. It's pretty bad.
You've got to actively practice.
But here, in the platform is quite high up, so and most of the trains do have a sort of they may have a step up, maybe two at worst, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, and you can almost always get a ramp.
Exactly. Well, if there's a guard and you have more on that later. Oh, I can't believe we forgot to put that on the list, but regardless, it's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can. We can not talk about that another time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in the future. But the point is that there are some trains that do accessibility better than others. The flirts do accessibility next to better than pretty much anything else here. I can think of.
Definitely. I mean, the ability to be able to use a train without the need for a ramp if you're in a wheelchair, that's transformational.
Definitely alone. I think my main issue is not so much the trains, because obviously of the things we mentioned, but more so stations. Because there are plenty of stations that aren't really that well accessible.
Definitely. It's alarming. I mean, outside of London, you're looking at potentially most stations.
Yeah.
Certainly outside of big cities.
Mm-hmm. I could agree. I have a few examples I want to bring up just to sort of use as a to explain one of my point. So one example I have, the first one I want to do is a station called Brookwood, which is on the southwest of the main line, just west of Woking. Now, this is a station that in the past had step-free access only through a sort of side gate, and it was only in the London-bound direction. But now they've closed that gate off because they put ticket barriers at the station, but no lifts. So
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your fare revenue should not come at the expense of people's ability to use the train.
No, actually, no. I think I do remember they put like a gate so you can like call the ticket office and stuff and show them your ticket or something like that. But either way, there's still no lifts at the station like that. And Brookwood's not exactly. Yes, it's got 2 platforms, but it's a busy commuter station. It's so busy that it has its own dedicated bus route that runs during the peak hours to connect with the trains. So I think it definitely deserves a lift.
There's no real excuse, and hopefully they should get around to implementing it.
Nah. Definitely.
Yeah, famous last word. But I mean, they've been doing it to review basis, so fingers crossed.
Another one I wanted to quickly mention, another one in the southwestern region, is Winner's Triangle. This one I've got a funny story regarding. Well, not really funny story. It's painful, if anything. The station is obviously was one of the newest stations built on the route, but there are no lifts at this station either. Even though Winner's Triangle was also supposed to be like a parkway station for Reading, but it's not really being used like that nowadays. I spoke to somebody who was like working in that sort of area, like one of the managers. And I asked, like, why isn't there a lift at this station? And they said that they couldn't put it because... Dang it, I forgot why they couldn't put it. That's really annoying. I was building up to that. Yeah, why couldn't you put it? I think the reason was either they couldn't do it because there wasn't enough space for a lift, which, to that I say, complete balls, or the terrain. It was one of those two, but those are still pretty bad reasons overall, because, well, the disabled should be able to travel as freely as us. Obviously, restrictions apply where absolutely necessary, but, it's just...
I mean, you're never going to get Sugarloaf accessible. But the vast majority of stations in the country are not like Sugarloaf, and there is no valid reason why they shouldn't have disabled access.
Nah. However, ranking it on this list is going to be a bit awkward because none of us are physically disabled, at least in this aspect. We don't need a wheelchair.
Yeah, so for us, it's an inconvenience.
But for other people,
some, it's deep pain.
Exactly. So that's a bit of an annoying one. But we at least understand.
I think, on balance, we should put it in as a deterrent to travel.
I'd say that. I'd say travel deterrent. For the purposes of just, we at least acknowledge that that's a problem, but for us it isn't as big of a problem as for somebody else.
Yeah.
Fair enough then. Okay, so next one is toilets.
Yeah, the train toilets are hit and miss, mainly miss. There are some good examples. I think the Pendolinos do toilets very well. But there are others where you wonder what on earth were the designers thinking. Like the Voyagers, every single toilet is accessible. There isn't enough saloon space as is. Why? The IETs, the doors, are incredibly heavy to open. And then, of course, to round it off, we've got the Class 197s, where there is one toilet on a 2-coach train, 2 toilets on a 3-coach train, when on a 2-coach 158, there are 2 toilets, 2-coach 175, there are 2 toilets. But on a 4-coach train, you're halving the number of toilets, and passenger numbers are only going to go up. You can kind of see where this is going. Toilets are quite quickly locked out of service, if they were even in service anyway, because they're very unreliable.
Oh dear, what a shame. And I was speaking to you about this earlier, but, Transport for Wales said that they were going to combat this by having more trains run in multiples. Which...
we'll see about that.
Debatable?
Yeah,
Debatable.
I
It's
mean,
debatable.
where it does happen, it's not for the right reasons. It's because one of the units has failed. But, yeah.
Yeah, I guess toilet design, I haven't really thought about it too much. I might go to worst toilet, but it's hard to really call it, to call it worst, was the pacer, because you could barely fit in it. But the thing is that it's the pacer. Why, it's the meme machine.
Yeah, I think there are certain instances where trains don't have toilets, and you wonder why not.
Yeah, definitely. I mention it in my videos, like the 345s. They don't have toilets, and people will say, "Oh, because they need to maximize standing room, and it's running like a computer service." Okay, why is it running across the entire city? Like, as in, not like the central line. I'm talking about from Reading all the way to Shenfield and Abbey Wood, where in the past, if I was travelling from Reading to Paddington, I'd get a 165 which had a toilet.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, 165s aren't the best, but they have a toilet. Thank you. But now I don't. If I want a toilet, I have to run on a 387 or
And
an
for
IET.
passengers who need a toilet, that can really disadvantage their journey. I mean, they've got to get off, use the toilet at a station, and then get the next train, which could be, 15 minutes? And if you're on a small line, it could be a lot longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's really, like, in this day and age of, like, we're so inclusive. We love people, like, we love the gays and stuff, all that stuff. We want to be, like, very inclusive. They don't think about people with Crohn's disease or poor bladder control. It's kind of funny. Oh, wait, no, it's the wrong type of inclusiveness.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the main thing is that's an expensive one to deal with. And also, it's kind of socially difficult to talk about.
Well,
and, fair enough, but it's important.
That. Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but again, would adding a second toilet on the 2-car 197 really be that much of a massive ask?
No, not at all. Yeah, no, I'm not justifying it.
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
It's not an issue that receives as much attention as it really should.
Yeah.
People are a bit self-conscious, really.
That's perfectly understandable in that aspect. So, where do we put it then? Because I sometimes get caught short and I'm on a class 455 or a, Lord forbid, a 345, and that's so annoying to deal with. It's massively irritating for me. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hardly ever use train toilets anyway, so it's just an inconvenience. However, well, literally an inconvenience. There are no conveniences. But equally, that could be deep pain for some people. Again, there's so much subjectivity here. I think I'm happy to put it in irritating, yeah.
Alright, then I will keep it in irritating then. Okay, seat alignment. So, everybody who's rode on a Pendolino will experience what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Gosh, it's bad on the Pendolinos. Very bad. I think they may actually have more pillars than they do windows.
I remember seeing the statistics of it somewhere, but I can't remember what it was. I'm really annoyed about that. I think it was like was it 1/3 of the seats or something, maybe, or 25%.
That's believable. That's not good enough, really.
No, because I like looking out of the window. I like seeing things as I go by and seeing, oh, there's something there, or just knowing. It's how I know where I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, okay, some people may not like looking out the window. Fair enough. Your opinion doesn't matter, because I do.
You don't have to look out the window.
Exactly. However, does it annoy me enough to, like, put it in deep pain? I guess it really... Unless I'm... I don't know, really.
Like, at the end of the day, it's a small proportion of seats. Even on the worst trains, most seats do have a window. It's not that big of a deal. If the train's so crowded that you can't get up and move, you're lucky to just have a seat anyway. I think it's an inconvenience.
I can agree with you on that, honestly. Yeah, it's an inconvenience. Next one, catering.
Yeah, I mean, catering has varied a lot, both today and in the past. It's generally been getting worse. I mean, there have been some exceptions. Transport for Wales have introduced their new catering service on the Mark IVs. That's really good. But we've seen stuff like South Western Railway get rid of their trolleys. wasn't even much, but it's a nice little thing to have on a long journey. And I don't... Well, it can even make a profit.
Well,
It
yeah,
almost always does. So why withdraw it?
More staff, less staff, I don't know. I actually have a really good solution to the catering issue, which I think would have justified it on the I think would have made sense on the IETs, like the GWR IETs. Why don't they do what they do in Switzerland and have vending machines on board?
Yeah, I mean, they could. I suppose there's a risk of vandalism. Yeah.
If you travel through, I don't know, Reading at 23:58 at night, yeah, everything's gonna get stolen, fair enough. But in general, like, I think it could work.
It could work. It just feels a bit uncomfortable, I think. Certainly within British culture. And I don't really know if you could get people to agree to that.
I think maybe they should put it on, like, lower tier intercity routes to trial it out with. Like,
run a trial. There's no harm in that.
Because, like, I'm trying to think, like, in the mind of a business person, like, one of the higher up suits. It makes sense because tickets, not ticket machines, vending machines can't go on strike. So it's, and the robot uprising is not now. It's a few more years' time, but they can't go on strike now. They only require filling up. You can easily tell, like, if they need to be filled up. You can do vending machines for food, drink, hot and warm beverages, like coffee and tea. You can do that. Whether it'll taste good or not, that's for you to decide. Because I never make tea outside of the house, ever.
No.
But I just think that could work. I'd like to see them trial it out.
It could work. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see a trial and how people respond to it. I think there are a lot of people who like the human contact.
Me too, yeah.
But I'm not really sure that's enough to triumph over money.
Definitely. And one other thing, actually, just like when I'm on, just slightly adjacent to this, do you think it would be a good idea if trains that ran on rural lines, like the Class 153, had an onboard ticket machine? Because they do that in like the Czech Republic and Germany with the Stadler RS1 train. That some of those versions have a ticket machine on board. I'll paste a picture on it on the screen now and share one with you later. But
on really rural lines like that, you've just got a guard who can sell the tickets anyway.
It makes sense. Actually, no, I didn't think about that. Yeah. All right then, never mind then. Okay, so where would you want to put catering on the list? Because I think it's a combination of either irritating or inconvenience. Depends on the length of the journey.
I mean, journeys are rarely so long that you can't just get something from a shop before. Yeah. You're not going to starve. And on those really long journeys, there is catering in almost all cases, apart from cross-country. So there's no real... I think it's an inconvenience. It's not a big deal.
Okay, we'll put it on inconvenience then. Last two. So we got track layouts. So, Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham.
We could sit down here all day long to whine about Birmingham doesn't have enough platforms. Birmingham's got 10-mile-an-hour speed limits. And there are slight bottlenecks in every direction.
And then, of course, there's the Castlefield corridor in Manchester.
Oh, yes, Castlefield corridor, yeah. One train is all it takes to... Actually, no, that's not... It's... The Castlefield corridor sucks. It's just not enough platforms at Birmingham, and frankly, it should be 4 tracks from Piccadilly. What the hell am I saying?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what you were going with there.
Sorry. Manchester Piccadilly doesn't have enough platforms on the Castlefield corridor.
Yeah, it needs at least 4.
It needs, at least 4, and frankly, in the perfect case scenario, it should have 4 tracks all the way to that junction where the line split off toward Liverpool. In the perfect case scenario.
I doubt that'll happen, because it's so dense.
No, it won't, yeah. It won't happen, but I was just saying, like, in a perfect world, that's what it should. And, obviously, I could not imagine being a signaller in that area. I'd imagine you get glaucoma for like after a week of just...
I think they need to have sort of 5-minute shifts, otherwise the stress gets too much.
Yeah. So there are lots of stations with like bad track layouts. You've mentioned Cardiff Central.
Yeah, Cardiff Central's pretty rad, because all trains entering and leaving the depot have to block the entire western approach, which just delays services for several minutes as the speed limit's really low, and a lot of the trains coming in and out of depots are Class 67 hauled Mark IV sets. They're really slow to accelerate, and they're pretty long. So you end up with, quite soon, chaos and delays.
It's pretty bad. And overall, there are I could probably sit down and list any. If you, the viewer, have any recommendations on areas that have bad track layouts, feel free to send them to us. Would love to see them in the comment section. Well, I would. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, me too. Definitely.
Oh, great. But where would you put this on the list then? Track layouts.
Ooh, I mean, from the passenger's perspective, they don't necessarily know about it, but if they did, I'm sure they'd find it quite annoying. I think irritating.
I think irritating too as well, because it doesn't deter me from travelling, but it is more of an inconvenience. Especially when a train has to change platforms at New Street and you gotta go all the way on those stupid exits and stuff. Oh, I hate that.
That's a nightmare. Yeah.
Indeed. And last and certainly not least, signalling.
Well, I would say least. I don't think it's a particularly big problem.
Well, yeah. The thing is that with me, isolated signals aren't that. The issue with signals isn't really that bad. It's more so what the UK has really done, like the railway industry has done, regarding the safety systems like AWS and TPWS, because like the AWS system for the signalling, we're getting a bit technical here, so I apologise for that. The AWS signalling system is pretty much can only tell a driver if a signal is green or not green, which would be fine if those were the only two aspects. But a signal can be green, yellow, double yellow, red, flashing yellow, flashing double yellow, flashing green, or they can have two white lights. So when you factor that in,
it is pretty archaic, and I am amazed we haven't done anything to deal with it. And a fix would be extremely easy. But our drivers are pretty good, and with the introduction of train protection and warning system, I don't see many huge issues with it.
No. I mean, the issue obviously was mainly like before TPWS came along. Because, like, before TPWS, their goal to try and fix this, and this is brought to you by the good mates at Railtrack, ding ding ding, was the SPAD indicator. So, let's say a driver passes a signal at danger, there would be another signal about 50 meters away that would flash and say, you've passed, basically saying, you've passed this signal at danger, you need to stop.
What? Oh dear.
Yeah. But the thing here is that when you think about that in technicality, you think, okay, so that's how you're going to combat SPADs, passing a signal of danger. Why not just do what the Germans did and make it so that you can't pass a signal of danger with magnets? But they didn't think about that, or they didn't want to do that because that costs money. And the German PZB system has been around since. Well, the infancy, like within Ducey, has been around since 1930s. So the technology has been there, and for them to take 70 years to go, okay, we'll sort of do it, it's just very embarrassing to me. And also, no, you first. Go on. No, you first.
It is embarrassing, but it's not the most embarrassing thing out there. We do manage. Incidents as a result of this are very rare. There were a few in the past, but there haven't been many since. I think we have kind of got control over it. Whilst we probably should change our signalling system, I don't think it's the number one issue facing the railways by any means.
No. I mean, I do want to at least bring up that there was a plan to at least revamp the AWS safety system in the mid-1970s in the southern region. And I mentioned this to you earlier. I actually sent a picture because pictures of this was like almost scrubbed from the internet to try and find them, and I'll show you on the screen here. But basically, they made the safety system infinitely better, and it would actually show the driver the aspects in the cab. And it was so good that the British Railways Board decided to veto any development on it. Because it wasn't...
Hooray.
Yeah. And that alone would have solved many... that would have prevented many crashes if the system was made widespread. It would have stopped the Clapham Junction rail crash, the Southall, Ladbroke Grove, I think there was a crash in Purley, Watford. It's just... that's why...
This goes on.
Yeah, the list goes on. That's why I want to put this in irritating, because it could have been so much better in the past. I mean, and that could have paved the way to make it way more reliable than, you know, it's... Well, maybe reliable is the wrong word to use, but a lot more... feel a lot more of a safety system. I don't know the best way to word it, but because as you mentioned now, the railways are pretty safe now, especially in the UK. We've got a really safe network. It's just some bits of it are pretty crap.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think irritating is probably a good place to put it.
Excellent. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our opinions of... Well, those are our gripes with the UK Railway. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you have any queries or you want to combat them, you can. This is not a dictatorship yet. Thank you very much, the Great Western Villager, for joining me in this video.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I've now fulfilled my quota of having enough Welsh people star in my channel. Now you can go away.
Yeah, tick box exercise. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And that should be the end of the video.
Goodbye.